Hello, my name is Michael, and I am from Vernicare Canada. We are the manufacturers of this machine here, which is your Macerator device, as well as all of the medical molded pulp that you would use for disposal with this machine here. Today, I will be going over a quick in-service on how to operate this machine here, as well as some tips and tricks when using the Vernicare system. So first and foremost, you will likely notice that this is a Vortex Air machine. So this is one of our newer devices. In order to operate this device, the most important thing to note is that these machines are touchless devices. So what that means is that at no point during operating this macerator do you need to touch the lid, any buttons on this machine. It is entirely operated by your foot. At the bottom right of the device is an aperture where there is an infrared sensor. When you place your foot into the machine, the lid will open up. You place your items into the device, you put your foot back in, the lid closes, and a cycle automatically starts. Foot in, lid up, items in, foot back in, lid down, cycle will automatically start. For these machines here, your cycle time is 2 minutes. If you are looking at other machines, specifically the compact device, this is the device you would most likely find in an isolation room or a single patient room. The major difference outside of capacity is the cycle time. For your compact machine, you're looking at 180-second cycle time. However, in terms of operating the device itself, it works in very much the same way in terms of operating it with your foot. At any point in time, if you need to stop your cycle, for example, you have placed your items into the machine, started the cycle, and realized, oh my goodness, the glasses on my head fell into the device. What you can do is you can hold this button down for 3 seconds, and the cycle will stop. At that point, you can open the lid back up to retrieve the item and then restart the cycle by closing the lid and holding down the button. 2 items to note when you are maintaining a macerator device. First and foremost, this right here is a deodorizer. This is on all of your Vernicare macerator machines. It is opened just by screwing it off. Essentially, this needs to be replaced every 400 to 500 cycles. And what this deodorizer does is, first and foremost, eliminates a lot of the smell coming from your machine. Secondly, it also provides some cleaning within your device every time a cycle is run. The second item to note is running an empty cycle once every 24 hours. This will help clean the inside of the drum, as well as make sure that the piping is flowing smoothly into your plug. When we look at capacity for these machines, specifically this device here and any of your larger Vernicare machines, they'll have a capacity for your medium items, which are bedpans and urinals. It's a capacity of 4 items per cycle. And when I indicate 1 item, that is essentially 1 filled bedpan with human waste, with wipes, and potentially with a solidifying gel. 4 of these can go in for 1 cycle. For your smaller items, for example, this emesis or Thay basin and this small emesis bowl, those are actually a maximum of 6 items per cycle. Then when we look at one of the larger items, for example, this here, which is your rectangular wash basin, this is a maximum of 2 per cycle, simply due to the volume of water that you are putting into the machine. When we talk about a device like your compact, those are a maximum of 1 item per cycle when we look at any of the items, minus the small items here, which are a maximum of 2 per cycle. A few major points to be aware of when operating a macerator device. In our experience at Vernicare, there are two essentially pitfalls to look out for when using this machine. First and foremost, it is overfilling the device. One of the most important things when thinking about a macerator device is to essentially think about it as a toilet. When you are using a toilet, you would always like to flush it after use. Same concept when using a macerator device. We do recommend that whenever an item is placed into your macerator, to always run the cycle. The reason why we have a larger capacity than one or two items is potentially sometimes you are bringing more than two items to the machine, or you might see your colleague coming down the hallway with a bedpan and a urinal. You don't need to race each other to see who gets to the machine first. You both can bring your items to the macerator for disposal. Just remember that the most important thing is that whenever you leave the room, a cycle is always being run. A good little self-check that can be done amongst your team is if you ever walk into your sole utility room or a room with a compact and isolation room, if you walk into that room and the lid of the macerator is open like this, that means someone has walked up to the device, opened it with their foot, placed an item into the machine, and then walked away. If you walk into your sole utility room or isolation room and you see that the lid of the macerator is closed, that is fantastic. That means that the machine is ready to be used by the next person. The second major pitfall to look out for when operating a macerator device is what can or cannot go into your machine. This right here is a poster that is provided along with every new macerator and can be retrieved by emailing us at Vernicare Canada. And essentially what it is a cheat sheet. It identifies all of the items over here which are compatible to go into your machine, and then a few items that are not able to go into your device. However, for simplicity's sake, the best way to think about how to separate your items when using a macerator is to ask yourself, would I throw this into my own toilet at home? If the answer is yes, in most cases, you are perfectly fine to throw it into the macerator. If the answer is no, I would recommend probably not throwing it into the macerator. For example, things like toilet paper, facial tissues, perfectly fine to go into your macerator device, just like they are perfectly fine to go into your toilet. However, if you are looking at some things like female hygiene products, do recommend separating those into your standard waste, as they are not compatible with your macerator device. One other item to note when it comes to disposing of medical pulp products into your macerator is in regards to stacking. So see here, I have a stack of 3 wash basins. When I am disposing of this into the macerator device, what we recommend is the lift and twist. So with the lift and twist, when I am disposing of this into my macerator, I would lift and twist it to the side. At that point, you're allowing some air to go in between your pulp products, and it will allow the cycle with the machine to go a lot smoother. We do find when items are too tightly nested together, they can compress in your device and then become like a block of wood, and the cycle will not process properly. So as much as you can, remember the lift and twist. Several other items may be used along with your macerator device, specifically some Vernicare wipes. There are 2 buckets of wipes to be aware of. One of them is your macerator only wipes. So these wipes are designed to be disposed of in your macerator, but not in a toilet. They come in both wet wipes as well as dry wipes. When we are looking at the second bucket, those are your flushable and maceratable wipes. So here we have your dry wipes and your wet wipes. So these can be disposed of in either your macerator or in a patient's toilet. Another very important tool when using a macerator device is this right here, which is your Vernagel solidifying agent. So this is designed to be used inside your containers for disposal in the macerator. This will solidify any liquid in that container within about 30 to 45 seconds and can be placed either before or after the patient has toileted. Another little trick you can use this for is actually for spill cleanup as well. So at any point in time, if you have a patient, any kind of spill, bodily fluids such as blood, bile, anything like that, you can actually open this package and sprinkle it over the spill. At that point, the liquid will solidify, makes it a little bit easier for you to clean up, and then you can dispose of it in a pulp container within your Macerator device. One other item to note when using a solidifying agent is specifically in regards to volume measurements. When we are looking at measuring volumes within a standard urinal, this is a female urinal here, we do recommend that you use a fluid scale. Within that fluid scale, you would be able to refer to a weights chart, and that weights chart will help you identify how much volume is within your container. And for each solidifying gel packet that is used, you would minus 7 mils. Overall, when you're using a macerator device, being aware of its limitations and its capabilities is going to improve the value it has for your unit and for your facility. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Furnicare Canada. Thank you. I've been Michael.